Top 5 craziest news stories of the day. Get ready, because today we've got a lineup of news so absurd you'll start questioning whether the world still makes sense. First up, a Hawaiian fisherman discovers that his kayak can be mistaken for the main...
Ah! Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me.
Then a Texan thief decides to get creative with crime and turns diamonds into part of the menu. Literally. And no, this doesn't end well for him or anyone else. But hold on, there's more. A father in the United States is trying to fix his daughter's official name, which was registered as Unakite 13 Hotel. No, that's not a Wi-Fi password. Meanwhile, a French scientist decides to spend 6 months isolated in a cave with no sense of time or natural light. What did he discover? That sanity has its limits, and he pushed them way too far. Oh, and to top it all off, or should we say with something far less noble smelling, an angry orca at SeaWorld decided the famous splash zone needed an upgrade. Let's just say an organic one. The result? A group shower no one will forget anytime soon. Curious yet? Stick around, because each story is more unbelievable than the last. And the final one will make you rethink where to sit at your next Orca show. First story, shark or food critic when your kayak becomes the main course. Picture this. You're out there relaxed enjoying a peaceful day fishing in Hawaii when out of nowhere...
Ah! Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me.
A tiger shark decides your kayak looks appetizing. Well, that's exactly what happened to fisherman Scott Haraguchi. And thanks to his GoPro, everyone can witness this near-fatal moment, which is both terrifying and fascinating at the same time. The video, which has already racked up over 2,600,000 views on YouTube, shows the shark charging toward Haraguchi's kayak like a missile. And what does he do? In a reflex worthy of an action movie, he uses his foot to try to hit the shark's eye. Yes, his foot. Who needs weapons when you've got great aim with your toes? And while all of this is happening, you can hear him shouting, "Tiger shark! A tiger shark just hit me!" Because of course, narrating your own near disaster is essential for keeping the drama alive. At the end of the video, Haraguchi even takes a moment to thank Jesus for getting out of this mess unharmed. After all, it's not every day you push away a shark and live to tell the tale. Oh, and just to be clear, this attack happened really close to shore, just 17 meters away. So you can't even blame the shark for being lost in the middle of the ocean. It was practically in its own backyard. And as if the situation wasn't surreal enough, Haraguchi described the moment with an almost unsettling calm. He said he heard a sound similar to a gust of wind, and when he looked to the side, saw something big and brown next to his kayak. His first reaction? Thinking it was a turtle. Yes, a turtle! But before he could even process it, the shark was already in action. The most curious part? He didn't even realize at the time that he had used his left foot to push the shark's head away. It was such a quick reflex that it only dawned on him when he watched the video at home. And let's be honest, that's some serious flexibility. Haraguchi even joked that if someone asked him to repeat the move today, without the shark of course, he probably wouldn't be able to pull it off. Now, why did the shark attack? Haraguchi has a theory. He spotted an injured seal shortly after the incident and believes the predator may have mistaken his kayak for its wounded prey. Makes sense, but it doesn't make the story any less terrifying. On social media, the video continues to spark reactions of shock and relief. One user summed it up perfectly. "This is insane, so glad you're okay." Another was more dramatic. "I literally screamed when I saw the attack. I think I would have passed out and become shark food." And of course, someone had to crack a joke. "This is why I surf in my pool. There may be no waves, but at least there are no sharks." In the end, it was a close call. Haraguchi walked away unscathed from this horror movie-like encounter and gained one heck of a story to tell and go viral. Second story, diamonds in the stomach, the world's most expensive diet. Imagine the audacity. Jathan Gilder, a 32-year-old Texan, managed to turn a diamond heist into a story worthy of a comedy or perhaps a thriller. The man, posing as a representative for an Orlando Magic player, was taken to the VIP room of Tiffany & Co. at the mall at Millenia in Orlando. There he was shown jewelry worth nearly $800,000, and what did he do? He jumped out of his chair, grabbed everything and bolted. But wait, it gets better. During his escape, he dropped a $587,000 ring, which was recovered by a store employee. However, the earrings, valued at over $760,000, stayed with him as he fled to the parking lot. There, he got into a car and managed to drive away. But not for long. Police intercepted the vehicle on Interstate 10 in Washington County after noticing his taillights were out. Yes, it was that minor detail that ultimately gave him away. And here comes the most unbelievable part. During the stop, Gilder simply swallowed the earrings. That's right, he swallowed them. And as if this absurd scene wasn't enough, amid all the chaos, he even asked the jailers, "Am I going to be charged for what's in my stomach?" A line that has already made its way into the annals of the most bizarre theft stories. And there you have the conclusion to this story that is quite literally hard to swallow. During the police stop, Jathan Gilder was caught swallowing the stolen earrings. Yes, he decided the best way to hide the jewelry was to turn them into part of his lunch. And how did they find out? A body scan at the jail revealed foreign objects inside his body. Now authorities can only wait for, his digestive system to work its magic. But the cherry on top was the comment Gilder made while sitting in the back seat of the patrol car. "I should have thrown them out the window." Brilliant, right? He sounds like a clumsy villain straight out of a B-movie. In addition, he was formally charged with first-degree grand theft and robbery while wearing a mask. And this wasn't his first foray into crimes against Tiffany & Co. Back in 2022, he had already been arrested for theft at another jewelry store in Texas. But wait, there's more! His criminal record includes 48 warrants for failure to appear in Colorado. In other words, Gilder isn't exactly the most reliable guy when it comes to keeping appointments. In the end, it seems swallowing diamonds was just another chapter in this man's long list of troubles. Our third story, baby name or Wi-Fi password. The Ghost Certificate Saga. Imagine the absurdity. Jason Kilburn, a father from Nebraska, is fighting a surreal battle to correct his daughter's official name, which was registered as Unakite 13 Hotel. Yes, you heard that right. The name sounds more like a hotel reservation code than something that should appear on a child's birth certificate. The story begins with Caroline Elizabeth, the girl's real name, who was born in November in Iowa. Her biological mother, struggling with drug addiction and neglect, lost custody of her shortly after birth. Carolyn was placed in temporary foster care and given a provisional document called a Certificate of Live Birth. That's when the system automatically generated the bizarre name. Kilburn only discovered he had a daughter later and gained custody after undergoing DNA tests. But despite finally being able to care for her, he encountered another problem. Carolyn doesn't have a valid birth certificate or social security number. In other words, to the system, she practically doesn't exist. As Kilburn described it, it's like she's a ghost. This lack of documentation has left Caroline unable to access basic services such as healthcare and daycare. To make matters worse, the bureaucratic confusion persists. Jason Kilburn continues to face a bureaucratic nightmare as he struggles to secure basic documentation for his daughter, Caroline Elizabeth, whose legal name remains erroneously recorded as Unakite 13 Hotel. Without a valid birth certificate or social security number, Caroline is effectively invisible to the system, creating financial and emotional strain for Kilburn. This lack of documentation has forced him to pay out of pocket for medical expenses, including hundreds of dollars for routine checkups, as he cannot enroll her in any health insurance plans. "It's like she doesn't exist," Kilburn lamented. Kilburn emphasizes that his fight is not about circumventing the system, but ensuring that Caroline has access to fundamental rights as an American citizen. To address the issue, he enlisted attorney Joshua Livingston, who described the case as a labyrinth of bureaucracy. According to Livingston, the unusual name was automatically generated by the hospital system when Caroline was born and was never corrected after her transfer to Nebraska. Despite Kilburn's efforts, the situation remains unresolved. Caroline still lacks critical services such as healthcare and daycare, while Kilburn navigates the administrative chaos in his attempt to secure her essential rights. Fourth story, 6 months in a cave, or how to become an expert in nothing. Michel Siffer, a French explorer and scientist, decided to take the concept of isolation to the extreme by spending 6 months living in Midnight Cave in Texas. Without clocks, natural light, or any external reference to time, he embarked on an experiment that feels more like science fiction than reality. And here's the kicker. This wasn't his first subterranean adventure. 10 years earlier, he had already spent 2 months in a cave studying the effects of isolation on the human body. Clearly, Siffer has a knack for testing the limits of sanity. But what was the idea behind this? He wanted to understand how the human body reacts when deprived of any sense of time. In 1972, at 33 years old, Siffer completely isolated himself in the cave. Without clocks or calendars, he slept and woke as his body dictated, a true disconnection from the outside world. His only communication was limited to his monitoring team, but there was no direct contact with anyone. And the results? Astonishing! Siffer's body began operating on cycles completely outside the standard 24-hour rhythm. At times, he experienced 48-hour cycles, 36 hours of continuous activity followed by 12 hours of sleep. But it didn't stop there. These cycles varied randomly between shorter and longer periods, showing that without external cues, our circadian rhythm can become chaotic. After 6 months living entirely isolated in Midnight Cave, Michel Siffer emerged with fascinating discoveries about the body's internal rhythms. He demonstrated that even without external references, our bodies possess an internal clock that keeps functioning, albeit in a very different way from what we're accustomed to. His research paved the way for studies on biological rhythms under extreme conditions, such as those faced by astronauts in space or night shift workers. During the experiment, Siffer followed his own cycle. He woke and slept as needed, without relying on conventional schedules. He was determined to investigate the mysterious 48-hour cycle he had observed during his first experiment 10 years earlier, and he succeeded. In some isolated periods, he stayed awake for 36 consecutive hours and then slept for 12, but these cycles were anything but regular. The days varied drastically, with some being very short and others feeling endless. The most curious part? Despite these extreme variations, Siffer couldn't perceive the difference. To him, everything felt the same. He reported that sometimes he would sleep for just 2 hours or as much as 18 hours straight, yet his perception of time remained unchanged, as if the concept of a day had simply ceased to exist. On the other hand, the extreme isolation took its toll. Years later, Siffer admitted that absolute solitude brought an overwhelming sense of lethargy and bitterness. The lack of human interaction and external stimuli was mentally exhausting, even for someone as passionate about science as he was. The most striking lesson: without external stimuli, humans are incapable of comprehending time, and spending months alone underground, excruciatingly boring, even for a determined explorer like Michel Siffer. And finally, the fifth story. Angry Orca gives everyone a collective crap shower at SeaWorld. A visit to SeaWorld promises incredible performances, thrilling interactions, and for the daring, the famous splash zone. But in San Antonio, Texas, some visitors ended up getting far more than they bargained for, and it was anything but pleasant. During an Orca show, one of the Marine stars decided it was the perfect moment to relieve itself in the tank. So far, so good. After all, nature is nature. But the Orca didn't stop there. With a tail movement worthy of a cinematic tsunami, it sent a wave of contaminated water straight into the splash zone audience. The result: an unexpected and highly unpleasant shower. The moment was captured on video and, unsurprisingly, went viral on social media. While some laughed at the absurdity, others were clearly disgusted. One visitor summed it up: "We knew we'd get wet sitting so close, but not like this." The smell was awful, and people were gagging. You can imagine the chaos. The scene left children and adults equally stunned. One boy even turned to the camera with an expression of pure disgust. And who could blame him? Although no one was physically harmed, the sanitary impact prompted swift action from the park. Those unlucky enough to be hit were taken to a decontamination area where they were provided bottled water, towels, and soap. As for clean clothes, well, those were available in the park's gift shop, but only for those willing to pay. SeaWorld wastes no time. responding to unhygienic incident involving Orca in San Antonio. SeaWorld was quick to address the unsanitary incident involving an orca at its San Antonio park. In an official statement, the park expressed deep regret over the event and assured guests that safety protocols were followed to minimize any health risks. Additionally, they promised to review their practices to prevent similar occurrences in the future. Perhaps giving orcas more time between meals and performances might be an idea worth considering, right? Despite the unusual and, let's be honest, unpleasant episode, some visitors stated that it wouldn't stop them from returning to the park. Still, it serves as a reminder, sitting in the splash zone can bring some truly unexpected surprises. One unlucky guest told TMZ, "We expected to get wet sitting so close, but not like this. The smell was awful, and people were gagging." The video of the incident quickly went viral on social media, sparking reactions ranging from humor to outrage. While some users joked about the situation, such as the comment, "This was personal," others criticized the use of animals in such shows. PETA, for instance, reposted the video on Instagram with a sharp critique. What did these people expect? That orcas have designated tanks for defecating? Regardless of opinions, the event highlighted that the famous splash zone might be riskier than it seems, and not always for the reasons visitors imagine. Well, after so many stories ranging from absurd to downright unbelievable, it's hard to pick which one was the strangest, right? But now, I want to hear from you. Which of these news stories shocked you the most or made you laugh nervously? Drop a comment below because I'm curious to see what you all have to say. And if you enjoyed all this chaos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share the video with that friend who loves a good bizarre story. Who knows? They might even have something to add to this list of craziness. See you next time, and watch out for the splash zone.